There are at least 3 ways to build any EDH deck. Strong,
Fun!
and mean. Let's talk about the strong, fun, and mean ways I would build Aminatou, the Fateshifter. The video starts right now. Special thanks to our Patreon supporters who power our channel. Check out our Patreon for monthly giveaways, exclusive content, and even a starring role in our fan fight series. Link in the description below. Hello and welcome to the day. Thank you for spending your time with us. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel Are Magic. I am Joel. We are going to talk about Aminatou, the Fateshifter, and the 3 ways that I would build her in EDH. But first, if you like this video, by the end of it, consider subscribing, and if you want to see more videos like this, hit that like button. Let's jump into it. First off, let's go over the Planeswalker herself, Aminatou, the Fateshifter. Esper across the board, no extra mana needed. +1, draw a card, put a card on the top of your library from your hand. -1, exile another target permanent you own, then return it to the battlefield. And -6, choose left or right. Each player gains control of all non-land permanents other than Aminatou, controlled by the next player in the chosen direction. It's a mouthful, but it is quite a -6. There are 3 ways to build Aminatou in my mind. The strong way being Esper control, the fun way being Blink Tribal, and the mean way being Theft. Let's talk about them. Esper Charm, we're going to start here. Esper across the board, no extra mana. Choose 1, destroy an enchantment, draw 2 cards, or target player discards 2 cards. We covered this card in our first 5 series relating to Esper. I love cards like this, index like this. Obviously, it's not one of the best in slots, but it's a really strong card and a fun card nonetheless. It represents what we're going to be trying to do with a control strategy. With controls, I also like a more passive state on the board. I like cards that we can put down, and as we counter stuff, kill stuff, put stuff back into people's hands, just kind of controlling the game in our favor. We want passive things happening as well. I cannot overstate how much I love Comball Console of Allocation. This is one of my pet cards. You got Orzhov +1. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, that player loses 2, you gain 2. I've seen this card absolutely hose entire games and just put the Esper player or whatever player is playing it so far ahead of everybody else that they stand no chance. We can't be playing Aminatou control unless we're playing some top deck strategy. So let's run some miracle cards, all right? Entreat the Angels is one I love very much because it can act as a finisher late or it can act as some pressure early. Entreat the Angels has miracle, so we know that we can put it on top of our library. Maybe, make sure that we're going to draw that card at the beginning of next turn, make it the first card we draw so that we can cast it, put X 4/4 Angels onto the battlefield. So strong. That's going to be what's going to put some pressure into the air. Aminatou, the Fateshifter. Is that correct? Yes. Aminatou, the Fateshifter. We would be remiss if we didn't run Fate Spinner in a deck where the title of the creature is Fate Spinner. Planeswalker, excuse me. Fate Spinner I also like. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player chooses draw, main, or combat. The player skips each instance of the chosen step or phase this turn. So essentially you're putting this clock on everybody, or this control, this kind of stacks to make sure that not everybody is going to get every phase of their turn. Stuff is going to start rotating in your favor. You're on the right path of control. Oath of Teferi is so good in this deck because we're going to activate the loyalty abilities of planeswalkers you control twice rather than once. That bottom text is what we care about. It's nice, however, that we do get the top text because it lets us blink something, which we're already going to kind of build into the strategy of the deck, because Aminatou is also going to be able to do that with her minus ability. We've got Yennet, Cryptic Sovereign next up. This is a really cool card. I really like it. Flying Vigilance Menace for a 3/5 when it attacks. Okay, you're revealing the top card. If it's odd, you can cast without paying its mana cost. Otherwise, draw a card. So the card's going to come into your hand immediately. This card represents such good card advantage. And if its converted mana cost is odd, which we know we can affect with our commander, Yennet's going to let us cast it immediately for free. Atemsis, All-Seeing. People are rolling their eyes right now. This card is not normally on a lot of top 10 lists, we'll say it that way. However, it's a pet card for me. I love this card. I love that it gives you a win condition on one card, and with a deck that's going to allow you to fix your hand so much as our commander is going to let us. Attempts this is an actual way that we can make people lose the game. That bottom text is what we're looking at. Whenever it deals damage to an opponent, you reveal your hand. If cards with at least 6 different converted mana costs are revealed this way, that player loses the game. Be aware that lands count as 0 when it checks, so you're going to be able to sneak a land in there as part of that win con. Akroma's Vengeance. It's a control deck. Let's wipe the board of everything. Also, I love this card because you can cycle it out of your hand early. Desertion. If we're a control deck, I know I've been showing you a bunch of like B grade cards instead of A cards. Let's run some A cards. Desertion. Counter it. If it's an artifact or a creature, put that card into play under your control. This is strong. It is so mean, and it is definitely a card that we want to run in a very strong control deck. We've also got Aminatou's Augury. I would be remiss. I love flavor. I love flavor in EDH. I'm just going to say it. And so whenever I build a new commander, I make sure to at least give consideration to any card that has the commander in the flavor text or in the title. Let me know in the comments if you do the same thing. Aminatou's Augury is definitely an include for me. It's so good. You may put a land card from among them of the 8 cards that you exile onto the battlefield, and then until end of turn, each non-land card type, you can cast a card of that type from among the exiled cards without paying its mana cost. This card only costs 8 CMC. It's so good. That is how I would build a strong Esper control version of it that leans a little more into the fun side, I will admit. Let's talk about the absolutely fun way that I would build it, Blink Tribal. When we build a Blink Tribal deck, we obviously need to include Soul Herder. 1 blue, 1 white, 1 other for when a creature is exiled, put a +1/+1 counter on it, so it's a threat that's going to get bigger and bigger. And Soul Herder is going to allow us at the beginning of our end step to exile a creature we control and return it to the battlefield, so we get ETB triggers again. And that's really what you're going to want to maximize here. Here's redundancy on that effect. Thassa, at the beginning of your end step, exile to up to 1 target creature you control, then return it. We're going to be able to blink. Thassa also acts as a mana dump for tap another target creature, that bottom ability. Really strong late game. Plus it's indestructible, very hard to kill. We've got Equilibrium. This is a bounce tribal part of it. So I've got blink and bounce kind of combined here. Whenever we're casting a creature spell, pay 1, return target creature to its owner's hand. So we're constantly just blinking stuff, getting ETBs, returning their stuff to their hand. Hopefully we've got the ground clear so that we can, ground or air clear, so that we can be attacking. Dinrova Horror. Here's one that's a little, it's a sub-tier card, but this card, if you've got it on a blink strategy so that every turn you can make it do its enter the battlefield effect again, is so strong. When it enters the battlefield, return target permanent to its owner's hand, and then that player discards a card. You're getting a 2 for 1. That's so good. Dinrova Horror, I love in this deck. Angel of Despair, here's another one. 7 mana, so it's a really high CMC for just a 5/5 flyer, but enters the battlefield, destroy target permanent. Are you kidding? If you've got Thassa on the battlefield, Angel of Despair, our Planeswalker commander, is redundancy on this. Blinking this every single turn, that's going to be ridiculous. And take note, it says destroy target permanent. That includes lands. If you want to start tilting this fun build into the mean build, let's Angel of Despair every single turn and destroy an entire land base from a single player. That would be ridiculous. Hostage Taker. When it enters the battlefield, exile an artifact or creature until it leaves the battlefield. You may cast that card for as long as it remains exiled. So you need to flicker Hostage Taker, cast the thing, and then you're ready to flicker Hostage Taker again at a later point because the card has already been cast and it comes into play under your control. Dromar, Dragon Legend. These creatures mean a lot to me. When EDH first started, this was one of the biggest kind of creatures that you could run to get multiple colors into your deck. Not all of them are super strong. Dromar, I think, is fine enough to run in a deck where this is the strategy. When it deals combat damage to a player, pay 2 and a blue. If you do, choose a color, return all creatures of that color to their owner's hands. This is huge. It's like it's kind of board wipe, a desertion board wipe. It's push everything back into their hands. Dromar, the Elder Dragons, they really, I love them. Flood of Tears, here we go. 2 blue, 4 other. Return all non-land permanents to their owner's hands. Love this. If you return 4 or more non-token permanents you control this way, you can put your permanent back onto the battlefield. So blink everything back with Flood of Tears and then replay your general from your hand. So good. Or whatever strong creature. Devastation Tide. Here's one that goes both ways. Return all non-land permanents to their owner's hand, and it's got miracles. So with Aminatou, we can affect the top of our library so that the card can play correctly. This plays 2 different ways and is absolutely an include. And Cyclonic Rift. What kind of deck that's talking about a bounce flicker strategy would not have Cyclonic Rift in it? I don't know. I don't have to talk much about this card. I had to include it though because I know some of you were going to go down in those comments below and be like, you didn't include Cyclonic Rift in the bounce setup, Joe. I knew I had to include it. Let's go get into the mean way that I would build this, and that is Theft Tribal. Theft Tribal starts straight up. Control magic. Blue 2, enchant creature. You control enchanted creature. Sorry, but that's mine now, and there's nothing that says they get it back. Gonti. Let's look at the top of their library. This also plays really well with Aminatou because you can blink Gonti over and over again. When our Lord of Luxury enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 of target opponent's library. Exile 1 face down. You get to cast that card when you can, as long as it remains exiled. Gonti is so good. Just, I'll take all your tricks and toys. I'll take all your tricks and toys. Definitely a card that belongs in this deck. Thada Adel. Here's one. Island Walk. There's going to be an island on the battlefield somewhere, I promise. Thada Adel can swing towards the person with the island, and when it deals combat damage, you get to search their library for an artifact and exile it. Then the player shuffles his or her library until in a turn you can play that card. This is fantastic. It stays exiled. The artifact is gone. I'll take your artifact. It's gone forever. I'll use it if I want to. I'll use it if I want to. That Adele is mean. Empress Galena. Here's a mean Empress, even though she's got little baby seals in her lap. Pay 2, tap her, gain control of target legend or legendary permanent. Period. Done. It's yours. It doesn't go back. There's no way they get around this. That belongs to you now. I've used Galena before in effects like Galena to take commanders, set them over here to the side, and just be like, okay, you chill. You hang out over there now. Super mean strategy. Super mean way to go. You want to talk about a tilting mean card? Agent of Treachery. You want to talk about a tilting mean card in a deck that can blink creatures and have their effects happen again? Agent of Treachery is ridiculous. Agent of Treachery makes me rage so hard, unless I'm the one playing it, in which case I giggle to myself very politely. Herald of Leshrac. If you can cheat this card onto the battlefield very early, you've pretty much won the game, and it's strong late. Flying, let's go over it. 7 cost for a flying 2/4, cumulative upkeep, gain control of a land you don't control. So you are slowly going to gain more and more lands as this effect goes through at your upkeep. Gets +1/+1 for each land you control but don't own, and when it leaves play, all the lands go back. So we want to protect it. Obviously, hopefully we'll have a little bit of control magic so that we can protect Herald of Leshrac from being removed or stolen or anything like that. But this is the kind of card, when it goes unchecked, if it doesn't get absolutely obliterated very, very quickly, you're going to get everyone's lands and you will have the game tied up. Memnarch. Granddaddy of theft right here. It's a 7-cost artifact wizard. Pay 3, 2 blue, 1 other. Target permanent becomes an artifact. Pay 1 blue, 3 other. Gain control of target artifact. Whoopsie. That's mine. That's mine. That's mine. You're an artifact. You're an artifact. And Blatant Thievery. I mean, you can't, again, you just can't have a theft deck without one of the strongest theft cards. 7 cost for a sorcery. For each opponent, gain control of target permanent that player controls. Any permanent, doesn't matter. As long as it doesn't have hexproof, as long as it doesn't have hexproof, that thing is yours, okay? That card is going to belong to you. And my goodness, I can't talk about mean theft without talking about theft of turns. Send Triplets. This card makes me rage so hard when it gets played against me. It absolutely is a tilting card. If you want to go mean with this strategy, play Send Triplets. You're going to have opponents just quit absolutely out of not wanting to deal with it, I think. Send Triplets. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose an opponent. This turn, that player can't play spells or activate abilities, plays with their hand revealed. You may play cards from that player's hand this turn. This includes lands. I think that first time that somebody played Send Triplets, targeted me, and played a land out of my hand onto their battlefield, I considered quitting Magic that day. Send Triplets is absolutely a house, and you have to play it if you're playing a theft strategy with this deck. Mindslaver, again, let's steal turns. We're going to steal permanents, we're going to steal creatures, we're going to steal lands. Why not steal turns with Mindslaver? Sack it, you control target player's next turn. That's it. That's all there is to say. Theft is absolutely tilting. Make sure your opponents know very, very clearly going in, especially if it's your friend group. I'm playing a theft deck. You're not going to have a good time. Please don't target me down first because I want to steal at least one thing. Those are the 3 ways that I would build Aminatou. Let me know down in the comments below which way I missed, and if you want me to cover a specific commander with the 3 ways to build series, leave that down in the comments below as well. If you like the video and want to see more like it, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. That's the best way to let me know that you like this series and want to see more. If you want to support us further, we have a Patreon. The link is down in the description below. And if you want to hang out with us, we stream most Tuesday and Thursday evenings over on Twitch. We'll catch you later.